Great. So welcome everyone to today's July 10th Eligibility and Budget Review Committee meeting. Erica's going to, she has a couple notes at the beginning.
I think, Vicki, were you gonna do the introduction?
Real briefly, welcome committee members, liaisons, and members of the public to the Eligibility and Budget Review Committee meeting. Thank you for joining us. We are using Zoom with the goal to foster a more inclusive environment and effective meeting. If you would like to comment during the meeting, please type, I have a comment or I have a question in the chat area, and a message will be sent to the host. Alternatively, you can also use the raise hand feature. So we encourage you to do that or use the chat feature. In efforts of transparency for all those joining this public meeting, whether by phone or by Zoom, we request that you refrain from having side conversations on chat about the content of the meeting. Again, the chat feature is utilized simply as a tool for you to virtually indicate that you would like to speak in order to help the chair facilitate the discussion. A friendly reminder to those who hadn't participated in the previous meeting, new going forward, all Legal Services Trust Fund Commission and committee meetings will be recorded and posted to the State Bar website. And a friendly reminder that this is a video conference and to please be aware of your surroundings behind you. In the event that there are any background noise, please be advised that any of the hosts will temporarily mute you and you will have the ability to unmute yourself. For troubleshooting, for those using Zoom on a computer, when on mute, you can hold down the space bar and that will temporarily unmute you. If you use your phone to dial into this meeting, please be sure that your computer's microphone is on mute just to avoid any technical feedback issues. And while joining audio via computer is highly recommended, if an individual loses audio, they can call in separately using the Zoom conference number. And so also anyone who's dialing via phone, you yourself will have to mute yourself. If we mute you, we would have to keep on unmuting you when, if we have any, if we call for questions. So just a friendly reminder, if you're on your cell phone, to please mute yourself.
Thank you, Vicki. Good morning, everybody. To get started, I'll take roll. So, Iskin? Aklagi?
I was muted, yes. Here.
Thank you. Bales Fightmaster?
Yes.
Bennett?
Here.
Connolly?
Here.
DeBose?
Here.
Delfino?
Here.
Friedman?
Here.
Mann? Meeker?
Here.
Myers?
Here.
Planhold? Thought I saw Bob. Planhold?
Bob has a comment that he's made, Erica.
Oh, okay. And then Savage?
Planhold's here.
Thank you, Bob. Savage? We have quorum. And then I'll just...
I'm sorry, I didn't hear answers for Savage or for Zara Man.
I didn't. Okay.
Erica, I got a text message from Kim that she's having troubles getting in.
Okay.
And was there an answer for Ms. Mann?
I did not hear one.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. For our liaisons, Selena Copeland?
I'm present.
Bonnie Huff? Debbie Manning? Chris Iglesias? Okay. And State Bar staff. Duan Nguyen?
You're muted if you're...
I'm sorry. I'm here. Sorry, Erica.
Okay. Elizabeth Hahn,
Here.
Dan Pasmanic,
Here.
Christine Holmes.
Here.
Greg Shin,
Here.
and Brady Dewar.
Here.
Great. Thank you.
And Erica, Kim Savage is with us now.
Great. Thank you. So our chair, Eric Iskin, couldn't make the meeting today. Bonifshay has graciously volunteered to chair the meeting. If anybody would like to make a motion to appoint her as the temporary chair for today.
I'll make the motion.
And I'll second.
Sorry, Delphino moved, and who seconded?
Bennett.
Okay, thank you. And, okay. Oklagi?
Okay, thank you guys. Thank you, everyone.
Oh, we have to do, I'm sorry, we have to do roll call vote.
This is actually.
Roll call vote. Okay. Yeah. I thought you were handing it back to me.
Sorry. So Oklagi?
Yes.
Dale's Fightmaster?
Yes.
Bennett?
Yes.
Connolly?
Yes.
DeBose?
Yes.
Delphino?
Yes.
Friedman?
Yes.
Mann? Meeker?
Yes.
Myers?
Yes.
Planhold? Planhold?
Yes.
And Savage?
Yes.
The motion passes.
Thank you all. Take two. We have a heavy load ahead of us, so let's just jump right in. So is it Erica or is it Dwan or is it both of you for us to move forward with the first item? Update on 2019 IELTA EAF budget revision and carryovers.
Bonifshay, sorry to interrupt you. We need to see if there are any members of the public who would like to introduce themselves and call public comments. If you would like to do it now.
Are there any public comments that we have? Yes, Evelyn and Keith, they're two individuals who are commenting right now. Are they able to speak? Are they muted? Are they able to jump in?
Hi, this is Evelyn. I'm unmuted right now. Can you hear me?
Yes, Evelyn, please go right ahead.
Okay, and actually, my colleague Cindy Lou might be joining any second now, and if she does, I'm going to let her take over if that's okay.
Sure, please go right
Okay,
ahead.
great. So I'll let you know when she jumps in. So I just wanted to start off by saying, addressing a couple of the comments about kind not meeting the 75% threshold. So while we are a national organization, we have localized budgets for each of our offices, and they essentially operate as their own organizations. Our national model really allows for structure and training within the field offices and really reinforces our overarching mission to not only provide direct legal services, but advocate for the protection of unaccompanied immigrant children. And we also work very hard to address the root causes of migration. So 100% of our office budgets, I think it's safe to say, for our Los Angeles and then our San Francisco, Fresno office are dedicated to providing services to our child clients in California. So we do have 3 physical sites in California, 35 staff there, and we serve over 20 counties in California. All of our services are free of charge to our clients. And actually, it looks like Cindy Lou just jumped on. So if that's okay, I'm going to hand it over to her.
Hi, everyone. Apologies for being a little bit late. I'm not sure what Evelyn was able to cover here. We saw some of the great questions that you had, and we're happy to answer more of them. And just to kind of clarify our work, since I know that our agency structure and model is pretty, I think it's pretty unique, or at least it's not as common in terms of what we've seen, since most legal aid services are usually not as national in scope as us, with the kind of different field office doing the direct kind of levels, like type of legal aid services that we do. But Evelyn, I'm not sure what you covered, and I don't want to again repeat anything.
Yeah, I just mentioned that, so I was just going to dig into that we have our 3 sites in California. I mentioned that, so our offices, our field offices do operate essentially as their own organizations, and that the entire budgets for our California offices are dedicated to serving clients in California.
Right, and we know that there are questions regarding the income eligibility assessment. So actually in some of our sites, it's actually required by, and we do conduct them actually, and that all of our clients are unaccompanied immigrant children. That is the mission of our agency. So by definition, most of them come to us under the age of 18 as indigent youth, children, and minors regarding in that regards. And we assist them with immigration removal defense, of which for over half of our cases involves actually going to state court first to help obtain special immigrant juvenile orders. So those are a few other things that we just wanted to clarify up front as well. And that also our social services work is actually located within our legal services program that was done, and that design is an extension. Our social services work is an extension to support solely our legal services work, and is only provided in the context of our legal services work and our cases there. That was based off of some of the research that we did, actually, that LAC and some of the other agencies provided in structuring social service providers to support legal service providers work. So we know that there are other questions that you may have about our kind of work or budget, and just wanted to make ourselves available to clarify anything. But again, it is direct legal services that we're providing here in our California offices.
Hi, Cindy, this is Dawn here. I don't mean to interrupt, but if you guys can stay on for the remainder of the meeting, it would be helpful, because when we get to that part of the discussion, if you're able to clarify some things, that would help us out.
Sure. Do you know exactly, sorry, what time that will be at? Because I saw the meetings from 10 to 1, and I actually have a meeting that jumps to, and it may toggle back. Or
this is Elizabeth. Sorry to interrupt.
Hi, Elizabeth.
Hi, good to talk to you virtually. The recommendation from staff will be for an eligibility review conference to be scheduled later. And so there'll definitely be lots of opportunity for clarification.
Okay.
So this is not your only chance. I just wanted to make sure that was clear.
Yeah, no, we certainly don't want to take up people's time, and or want to present the information in a way that's most useful or helpful. So if you think, Dawn and Elizabeth, that we should stay on to answer questions, we can do that. And or if you would like for us to do that in the follow-up review, we can do that as well. So is there a recommendation on your end of what you would prefer?
Yeah, I mean, there is going to be a little bit of a discussion now. If you are able to stay on, then that's great. If you can't, then like Elizabeth said, the staff recommendation is for an eligibility review conference where we can get into more depth with the questions and the answer. So up to you.
Cindy, sorry to interrupt, this is Evelyn. Cindy, if you need to jump off, I can be on today.
Thank you. Yeah, if I do, and then maybe I'll just hop back on. Evelyn will stay on, and I'll hop back on when she signals me, if that's okay. Apologies for that. Thank you so much.
And Evelyn and Cindy, I'm not sure if you're seeing the comment. Selena Copeland has said that she'd be happy to also send Cindy a quick text when we get to your program. Thank you, ladies, for
so much
for showing up and giving us some more insight on your work. It's always helpful. So I think then there's another individual who has a couple public comment. Keith Waitley, are you there?
I am here. Hope you can hear me. Keith Watley is my name.
Thank you.
Yes. And I'm the founder and executive director of Uncommon Law. We're a nonprofit organization in Oakland. We serve people in prisons throughout the state. Because we're a new applicant for IOLTA funding, I wanted to introduce myself and tell you a little bit about the work that we do at Uncommon Law. On our sentencing continuum for punishing someone convicted of violating the law, The two most extreme sentences, of course, are death sentences and those of life without the possibility of parole. But in third place behind those two is life with the possibility of parole. And California has 35,000 people serving this kind of sentence right now, far more than any other state. And those are the folks for whom Uncommon Law provides trauma-informed counseling and legal assistance. We spend months or years counseling them to understand how their own trauma histories contributed to the thinking patterns and behavior patterns that landed them in prison. And then we represent them in hearings before parole commissioners considering whether and when to release them. In the criminal law, we have really strict procedural rules that protect against arbitrary deprivation of one's liberty and many other rights of citizenship. Before someone can be given a life sentence, those protections include the rules of court, rules of evidence, criminal procedure. But in determining whether to release someone from a life sentence, none of those protections exist. These administrative proceedings are conducted by parole commissioners, and they're considered non-adversarial. There are no rules of court, no rules of evidence, no rules of criminal procedure. Courts have described the parole board's discretion as broad and almost absolute. 90 to 95% of our work takes place over the months and sometimes years prior to someone's parole hearing. We're filling a really important gap that's really left wide open in our social safety net. We're helping people address previously unresolved childhood and adolescent trauma, and we're usually doing it decades after it occurred. And through our efforts, we've now seen more than 250 of our life sentenced clients released, and their recidivism rate is below 1%. We're very proud of that number, but we're also very proud of the contributions they make to their families and their communities when they come home. I appreciate you considering us, we're first-time applicants, look forward to participating in this process. I would be happy to entertain any questions you may have. I know there'll be another opportunity for that. I do have another meeting at 10:30, so if it's better or makes more sense to speak at another time, I'm happy to do that. But if you have questions now, I'd be pleased to entertain those. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Keith. I think that when we get to your section, I think, is this another one, Elizabeth, Dwan, and Erica, that there might be a consideration for?
This is the one that staff is recommending eligibility conference. So there'll be another opportunity, Keith, to dig deeper into your program.
Okay, thank you.
And we look forward to it, Keith. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, do we have anyone else as a member of the public that would like to make a comment at this point? Okay, hearing none, shall we jump into the work at hand?
Yes.
With the update on the 2019 IELTA and EF budget?
We need to approve
yes.
minutes.
Sorry. Dan, did you say something?
Do we need to approve minutes from the last time? Consent.
The last committee meeting was only 2 weeks ago, so we couldn't get the action summary turned around quick enough. So we'll improve the minutes from the last committee meeting as well as these minutes at the next committee meeting.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So Banashe, may I take over the next agenda item?
Yes, please do.
Okay, great. So the next agenda item is update on the 2019 budget revisions and carryover. So as part of your meeting materials today, there was a spreadsheet that was included with the title of 2019 budget revisions. Just as a reminder, staff has authority to approve budget revisions and carryovers up until 25%, and over 25%, the committee and the commission needs approval. These are requests that have come in that are below the 25% threshold, but we do want to share with you the approvals that staff has provided to the programs. And these were for 2019 budget revisions and carryover. And as you'll see, the majority of them are because of staffing changes. people, some programs couldn't hire in time. Some programs hired at a different classification, and so they had a budget modification or a carryover. Everything is really, it seemed reasonable to us, and staff approval was to approve all of those requests that came through. So you don't need to take a vote. It's just as information if there are questions that you have, then we're happy to answer them. Okay, with that, then we can move on to the next agenda item then. Erica?
So just a brief update on monitoring visits. Dwan, did you want to open the PowerPoint or do you want me to do it? So as we reported last time, we are transitioning to doing monitoring visits remotely over Zoom. And so staff has jumped into that process and started scheduling the remaining visits. As you know, we were only able to complete about 5 or 6 in-person visits before the stay-at-home orders. Currently, we have about, I believe, 8 on the calendar between now and October. We have several more to schedule, but we did want to let you know the dates and the agencies that we have scheduled thus far, because if you would like to join and participate, we definitely welcome your contributions to the monitoring visits. And so as you can see, this is the schedule that remains for the next couple months. Given that it'll be a very busy calendar for the committee in the next month and a half, some of these visits may not be feasible for you, but if you would like to join any of them, feel free to reach out to us. And then as we schedule more, we can send out periodic updates to let you know if you'd like to express interest in joining.
And just as a reminder, all of our remaining monitoring visits for this year, instead of on-site in person, will be done remotely. So, you know, we're happy to accommodate your schedule for part of the day, for the full day, for any of these monitoring visits. We can coordinate that.
So Dawn and Erica, just how are you guys doing this? So obviously it's on a Zoom call, but what are you able to capture from this style of monitoring visit versus obviously the in-person, and what are we, what's the process look like?
I don't think, I mean, we're going to lose some, I guess, you know, obviously it would be better if we could do it in person so we could see the physical location of the office, get an office tour. In some instances, we're able to sit in on clinics and see kind of interactions between staff and clients. So we lose that. However, with a lot of these monitoring visits, it is a one-on-one interview with the staff, and then the day ends with a wrap-up with the ED. So in terms of the information, we'll still be able to receive a lot of information. And then, as you know, we go out on, when we go out on these monitoring visits, it's the program side as well as the fiscal side. What's changed on the fiscal side is that Frank is going to be collecting a lot of the information beforehand. And then during that day, instead of the programs pulling out kind of fiscal files during that day, we were collecting that information beforehand. So we do anticipate still be able to have a fairly thorough review on program side and fiscal side, even though we're doing it remotely.
Very good. Are there any other questions from the commission? Okay. Thank you both for the updates. Shall we move on into discussing the new applicants for 2020,
Sure.
2021?
Sure. And Erica and I have just a kind of some slides to guide us in the discussion. We'll go through them right now. So we're going to give you an update on deeming. We're going to talk about the new applicants. We're going to talk about, and this follows kind of the outline that's laid out in the memo, the programs that have qualified expenditures below 75%. We'll talk about pass-throughs, and then we'll talk about next steps in scheduling eligibility review conferences. So there's a requirement in the statute, Business Infractions Code 6215, that says that programs that have not provided services in California before December 31st, 1980, must be deemed to be of special need by a majority of the qualified legal services projects. So programs that were in existence before 1980, they're grandfathered in and they don't have to go through a deeming process. For all other support centers that are in existence after that date, our office administers a deeming, a voting process so that qualified legal services can vote and to elect whether the support center is a special need. The programs are on a 3-year rotation to vote. And that's not statutory, that's our guidelines. I have created kind of the scheme on how to be deemed. So we send out a ballot to programs that are up for deeming during the application review period. So we sent out the ballot to the qualified legal services projects, and they're given an X amount of time to date to vote. And then if more than half of them have to vote affirmatively yes in order for the support center to be deemed. A no vote counts as a no vote. So they actually have to vote in yes. And it's one unique vote per organization, and we will have the results for you of the deeming process in a few weeks. And the 4 programs are up for deeming this year are Family Violence Appellate Project, Impact Fund, Legal Services for Prisoners with Children, and National Immigration Law Center. Does anybody have any questions about the deeming process or the requirement? Vicky, Erica, are there any questions in the chat box?
No, I don't see any.
Okay, great. Okay, so we're going to give you a brief summary of the new applications that are coming through. And as you know, we have 7 new applicants this year, and they're all applying as a qualified legal services project. So the first one up is community lawyers. And we have our staff member who's assigned to these particular program on the line now to give a description and to give you kind of a preview of some of the issues.
Okay, can you hear me? Yes. Okay,
yes.
So through a pro bono model, Community Lawyers Inc. provides legal assistance to underserved clients in Los Angeles on issues such as family law, landlord-tenant law, tax preparation, bankruptcy and debt relief, as well as immigration and expungement of criminal records. CLI reported 100% of their expenditures as qualifying. However, after initial review, we found at least 2 programs that may be non-qualifying, including a pro bono attorney project, which appears to support law practice management and business development rather than civil legal aid, and also a lawyer referral service that may refer clients to paid attorneys. So I'm following up with CLI about these activities and to determine if they will still meet their primary purpose if they have to deduct for these activities. And in addition, as discussed at the committee's previous meeting, CLI also submitted a financial review document that didn't appear to be a financial review conducted by an independent CPA. They were granted an extension to submit a final CPA completed financial review by August 1st. So our recommendation is for them to do an eligibility review conference and to help determine if they meet the primary purpose requirements, if they're adequately reporting their qualified expenditures, and that they have submitted a independent CPA financial review.
And just to add to that, this is Ron again. So we'd like you to approve the recommendation of an eligibility review conference, but we'd also like any kind of preliminary thoughts or any, if the committee members have thoughts and kind of additional information that you'd like us to gather from the programs for the eligibility review conference, please let us know now.
So Duan, do you want action? Do you want voting on each individual one, or do you want to wait until the end? How do you and Erica see this?
Erica, do you have a preference in terms of individual voting or taking them all at once at the end?
I think it would be fine to take them all at once.
But you guys want you want input on each one of them as we're going down.
Yes.
In real time. Okay, great.
Yes, we would like your initial thoughts. That was our what Christine summarized. That was our initial review of the application. We included the summaries included in the memo that was provided to you, as well as we call it profile sheet, but we pull out pieces of their application to highlight in that profile sheet that's lifted directly from the application. And then you all have access to the full application as part of your commission member portal from Smart Simple as well. So so yeah, we'd like a little bit more discussion and in terms of your initial thoughts on this application.
So we'll open it up to the commission members. Is there anything else that you all would like to see?
No.
Corey Freeman has a question.
I think Corey has a question.
Corey, please.
Go ahead, Corey.
I was wondering whether they seem to be, it said that there seemed to be referral to paid attorneys. Was this a referral service that's being regulated by the bar?
So as reported in their application, this is something in development. And I have not been able to clarify yet, like how far in development this project is.
Because they may need to know that this has to go through a different aspect of the state bar.
Yes.
It's not doing that.
And Christine, do you want to provide the committee members that aren't familiar with our lawyer referral certification process and what the state bar does do?
I'm not.
This is Elizabeth. I can do that.
Okay, thank you, Elizabeth.
So in the past, actually, our office used to certify the lawyer referral services. That has since been transferred over to our Office of Professional Competence. So there is a pretty in-depth certification process, which includes verifying that there are certain public protection requirements in place, including that all of the attorneys participating on the lawyer referral service are in good standing and have the proper amount of errors and omissions coverage. There's other requirements, to make sure that there's a rotation for the attorney so that not one single attorney gets all these referrals. And there's also a public service requirement. Generally, lawyer referral services either have a modest means panel where they're able to assist members of the public or refer members of the public to attorneys who are charging lower hourly rates or kind of limited scope services. So there are, as Corey mentioned, there are a lot of requirements for a lawyer referral service, and that certification process is separate from our grant application process. Yeah, as Christine mentioned, we haven't yet verified where they are in that process.
And just to reiterate what Christine was saying, with the lawyer services work, the referral, we typically in our office, for the purposes of IALT and EF funding, that's not counted as qualified expenditures because in a lot of instances, the referral is to a paid attorney or a sliding scale. In the instance where they're referring it, there's some lawyer refer services that are referring out to in-house, and they do, they provide pro bono services. Some of them are attached. It's a bar association that has a lawyer referral service, and then they have a legal services component that qualifies for our funding. And in some instances, that lawyer referral service piece refers back to their in-house legal services department. That's for the purpose of providing free services to indigent clients. For that sliver of referral, we can count that as qualified expenditures. Also, if they're referring out to other legal aid organizations that are with the primary that are providing free services for the indigent, we can count that as qualified expenditures. But for the most part, if it's a referral out to a paid attorney, that can't be counted as qualified expenditures.
There are a couple of comments in the chat section. Selena,
Oh, and maybe let me get out of because this piece of the we don't need the PowerPoint up so that everybody can see each other. Just give me a second.
Selena, do you want to jump in?
My only question, looking at the summary of FTEs, it looks like they have no attorneys employed. So I just was curious if that's true of other IELTS programs, because I haven't seen that. At least I don't know of any. So
the chart is not the way it's set up. That might not be completely accurate because sometimes really small organizations, and this is why we are recommending eligibility review conference. How our chart is set up, our personnel chart is that it's split up between like attorneys, non-staff attorney, and then like there's an other. But sometimes the other is an ED who's actually the managing attorney and is supervising a really small program. So it's not completely accurate, and this is why part of the reason why we'd like to have an eligibility review conference to dig deeper into it, to see what their staffing is like and if there's proper attorney supervision. But Christine, do you know off your hand if that's the case for this particular program in terms of?
It does appear to be the case for the program. The ED was listed under other, and he is an attorney.
I think Zahara has a question, Zahara, or I don't know that this is from before. I'm just seeing the Zoom chat right now.
I think Zahara was announcing her joining.
Oh, that was from before. Okay. And then
I've included her on the roll call.
Okay. And Corey, do you have a question? Or is this also from previously?
I got my first question answered and Selena asked my second question. So
okay. So any other thoughts on this program?
It looks like Erica Connolly has a question as well.
Hi there. I just really wanted to just confirm, other than the two issues that you raised, do you have any concerns about like the sort of income of people that they serve? Or I guess I just want to make sure we get that information as well so that that doesn't become a second question if we decide that the services are otherwise appropriate.
Christine, do they provide verification that they do income screening or any other type of screening?
That is an area that we want to get more clarification on as well.
Okay.
Was it unclear or was it not provided, that information?
It's a little unclear if their eligibility conforms to our statute.
Luis Fightmaster, were you going to jump in?
Well, I was going to ask about the referral piece of this, whether or not, I mean, I think it should matter to us whether they're approved by the state bar or not, just to, have those protections in place. So my question is, do we care? I mean, are we going to make sure they are a state bar approved referral service if that's actually what they're doing?
And Christine, do you know if they have a pending application? If we don't, then we should try to figure that out before.
No, I can look into that.
Any other comments or questions of the commission? Okay.
Okay, so let me see I won't share my PowerPoint yet. The next organization is East Bay Family Defenders.
Hi, good morning. This is Greg. So East Bay Family Defenders is a fairly new organization, having started operations a little less than 2 years ago on September 1, 2018. EBFD provides court-appointed legal representation to mainly parents in dependency proceedings before the Alameda County Superior Court. As you all know, to be determined as a QLSP, an organization must have a primary purpose to provide free civil legal aid in California to individuals. EBFD acknowledges in its application that while it's in the process of revising its intake process to income screen for 125% of the federal poverty level, They are currently not conducting income screening. So for them to generate their primary purpose calculation, what they did was to look at another IELTA funded organization, Dependency Advocacy Center in Santa Clara County, which is an organization that has sort of this similar legal representation mandate and a similar representation model. And what they did was they took DAC's figure of 15% of their clients that they estimated would not qualify as indigent, and applied that 50% towards their attorney expense, which yielded them their 97.79% qualified expenditures percentage. Additionally, EBFD employs a full-time clinical social worker, and staff is seeking to get some clarification on how much of their social services work is actually tied to actual legal outcomes. So for these reasons, staff is recommending an eligibility review conference so that we could get some additional clarification on their plans for the income screening and how their social work piece also factors into the qualified expenditures percentage.
So Corey, please go ahead.
I had a couple questions. The first was whether they've indicated when they're going to start income screening. Because I have to say, I think we should withhold judgment until the more detailed discussion with the program happens. But I'm a little skeptical of that means of demonstrating indigency, just comparing yourself to a similar program. So I'd be interested to see exactly what their plan is as far as when they're going to start income screening. But my other question is the free and free legal services. And I know this issue has come up in the past, but what do we do with services that are free to the client but are paid for by another mechanism? Here mainly here the courts or the government reimbursing for legal aid.
So I think I can address question number one. I'm going to have to punt question number two to Dawn if I could. They didn't mention in their application a specific timetable in terms of when they would be able to implement the income screening, but they did specify that they are in the process of making those changes now to their intake process. So that's certainly an area that we want to get further clarification during the review conference.
And yes, I usually do kind of screening calls with the new applicants, and they reiterated that with me too. You know, they're very interested in our funding, and they said that if the commission thinks that it's appropriate, that they're willing to do income screening pretty much effectively in terms of how we want to income screen. They did believe that if they were to go back and income screen, that the vast majority would be qualifying clients, but because they hadn't done it before, they still wanted to apply to see if they would be eligible for funding for 2021. And then Corey, in terms of your second question, I think we take that on a case-by-case basis, but we have viewed instances where programs have had a contract with a government agency, and that's paid from the government agency, that's still free legal services to the clients. But I don't think we have, I know we don't have any kind of anything in writing or codified that has a bright line rule, and whether it becomes paid at some point if it was not paid by, say, a government source.
I had a question. It said it follows the DAC model that estimates. So does that mean DAC does not income qualify?
This is Elizabeth. I can answer that. DAC does income qualify.
I think what this program is that it's following it's taking the DAC's percentages and applying it to their percentage. And this is where we'd like clarification in an eligibility review conference, because it was unclear to us exactly how they were kind of applying the DAC kind of population and applying it to theirs to determine X amount of unqualified clients.
And just for context, I should probably also point out that it wasn't just sort of by happenstance that EBFD selected DAC to model itself off of. DAC provided some what I'll call seed funding for EBFD to start, and essentially EBFD is providing substantially the similar services that DAC is providing in Santa Clara County.
And DAC is also a new applicant. Last year was the first year. This year is the first year that they're receiving funding from us, Dependency Advocacy Center.
Erica Conley, would you like to jump in?
Oh, that was from before.
That was from before, okay. Any other comments or questions? Okay. Shall we move to the next?
Yes. So the next organization is Housing Rights Center. Eric, I think.
Yes, sorry, I had to unmute myself. So Housing Rights Center is applying as a legal services project. They operate in Los Angeles and Ventura counties in Southern California. In their application, they describe themselves as California's largest nonprofit civil rights organization dedicated to securing the right to equal access in housing. In their application, they broke down their services into 4 main areas, one being housing discrimination complaint investigation, and they described doing testing and surveys, work of that nature. They also do landlord-tenant counseling, educating individuals on the rights and responsibilities of both landlords and as tenants. And they do education and outreach in the community, and then they will also do fair housing legal services, which my understanding from the application is mostly focused on discrimination, housing discrimination cases when they've been unable to resolve the issue without litigation. So their main source of funding is through community development block grants. And my understanding of those grants is that the income threshold, while it is still targeted towards low income individuals, is significantly higher than the IOLTA 125% of the federal poverty level. It uses the area median index, which varies depending on location, and is a higher standard. And so that was one thing that we reached out to them about, because they didn't have a mechanism for actually capturing the percentage of clients that would qualify for IOLTA. And that is one thing that we have gotten a response from them so far, that they are looking into creating a mechanism for that in their case management software. I'm not sure if they have come up with a way to do that yet, but they are aware of the need to be able to quantify that. And then in general, the reason it came to our attention was upon initial submission, several of the forms were missing information related to quality control and their qualified expenditures. And for example, there were no deductions made on their qualified expenditures, though they had indicated in other places on the application that they served clients who would be over income for the purposes of IOLTA and EAF. And they also had indicated that they provide, for example, sort of a fair housing certification training to landlords and property managers that they can pay for to participate in this training, and indicated in other places that there might be some work that might not qualify as civil legal services. And so we've reached out to them to get some more responses on that. We've had conversations with them about making sure that they can break down their expenditures by county for Ventura and Los Angeles. And it's my understanding that they resubmitted their application this morning. I haven't had a chance to review that yet, so I'm not sure to what extent some of the questions that came up on the initial review have been answered, but would still nonetheless recommend an eligibility review conference just to confirm. I think Kim has a comment.
Go right ahead, Kim, please.
Okay. So I actually know this organization quite well, and have done trainings with their ED and know their director of litigation. I think the questions that you are going to pose are really important. They have a lot of different funding sources. They charge for trainings in many instances. They also do freebie trainings. They are one of the fair housing organizations that receives funding from the city and county of LA. So I think that, you know, the road you're going on is important.
Thank you for that addition, Kim. How long has the organization been in existence?
I have to double check, but I believe since the 70s or early 80s.
And this, yeah. Had they ever been before us? This is absolutely their first time?
Yes, that's my understanding.
Do you have a sense as to why now, given what Kim just said in terms of their funding sources, that they have a vast array, it sounds like, of funding sources?
I haven't asked that question specifically, but that's certainly something I can find out.
I mean, I think you will just want to get the full layout of their various funding sources. I mean, they may be subject to a reduction in funding from cities and counties, because that's where a big chunk of their money comes from. They also in the past have received fair housing grants from HUD. And every year it's always this uncertainty about how much money will come from that. So I'm not saying the organization is wealthy. I'm just saying there's a lot of different funding sources that go into supporting their work.
I have one observation to make, that it seems to me this is more of a systemic problem we're going to have, because we have to deal with a poverty level that's nationally based that doesn't take into account local housing costs, because it's a national poverty level of 125%, as opposed to anybody who's primarily dealing with housing issues is going to follow a policy more like HUD, which is based on the median income level, because the housing costs vary so much at different locations. And it seems to me we ought to have a systematic policy approach to address this problem, because it's not going to be just based on this one agency.
But I guess in response to that, Jim, our hands are tied because the statute says that we have to, with the 125 federal poverty threshold. So, and we can address, I guess, in terms of housing, if it's, you know, impact work or class actions through codification process, but if it's individual services, we're held to that 125% income screening, or senior or person with developmental disability. There's not much flexibility there.
Jim, if you don't have a follow-up to that, I saw Corey raising her hand. Is there anyone else wants to be in queue? Okay, Corey, please go ahead.
Yeah, just responding to Jim, Dawn, I mean, I think this a statutory change is all that could fix this. Although I just might as well note that pro bono programs get that extra bump up in income, which is useful for serving low income people who don't make that incredibly low federal threshold. But I just had one question for Housing Rights Center, which is, it looks like they have very elaborate investigations from their description on Smart Simple of doing on-site visits to evaluate whether there's housing discrimination going on, and so it seemed like they didn't have that many attorneys relative to their staff, but I could imagine that being either they're not doing that much legal work, or it could mean that they have just a lot of investigators under one attorney, and so I'd be interested in seeing how they develop cases, because certainly there could be circumstances in which you would want a lot of staff, even if you don't need all that many lawyers.
Kim, you have a response to that?
Yeah, they do like other fair housing organizations of kind of a medium to large size. They do a lot of testing. So yeah, Corey, you're right. They're on site because they're doing testing, which is, for the testing to be valid, it's incredibly complex process. So yeah, they have a lot of non-lawyers working for them, but then they also have their litigation director. I don't know what they have in terms of staff attorneys now. They do litigate some cases. They join on cases. They were one of the organizations on this massive suit against the city of LA, which resulted in the largest settlement regarding non-compliance with physical accessibility requirements. So anyway, they do a lot of work, but they do a lot of investigation and testing, so that the next step is, if they find that there's discrimination, then they're gonna file suit either on their own or co-counsel.
Zahira?
Thank you. You know, I was just going to sort of just say something very similar in terms of the work that they do. And I also just think in terms of process, one of the things I want to point out is that I know we've talked about handling all of these as a group at the end. This particular one was one that I was wondering if we could kind of take out of that group. Just in terms of disclosure, my husband works for the Department of Fair Employment and Housing, and so they do work with Housing Rights Center. And so just, I don't think it's an actual conflict, but just, I think I'd be a little bit more comfortable if we were able to take this one outside of the full group.
Thank you, Zahira. We can definitely do that.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions with respect to HRC? All right, does the staff have enough on this one?
Yeah, so shall we take a vote now for HRC then?
We could, and then group the rest of them at the very end. Sure. And so this is a recommendation that the staff is making for an eligibility review conference.
Yes.
Vote for that. So someone like to make a motion? Is that Corey?
Yeah, I'll move to adopt the staff recommendation for Housing Rights Center.
Second from Bob Planthold.
Okay, thank you. Roll call vote.
Aklasi?
Yes.
Bales Fightmaster?
Yes.
Bennett?
Yes.
Connolly?
Yes.
Jabos?
Yes.
Delfino?
Yes.
Friedman?
Yes.
Mann?
Abstain.
Meeker?
Yes.
Myers?
Yes.
Landhold?
Yes.
And Savage?
Abstain.
The motion passes.
Okay, very good. Thank you, everyone. Shall we move on to KIND?
Yes, so the next organization is Kids in Need of Legal Defense. And this
I'm
organization—
sorry, I didn't hear Kim's vote. Was that a yes or an abstain?
Abstain.
Abstain.
Thank you.
And I'm not sure if the ladies are still with us or if Selena can ping them at this point. But if there happen to be any additional questions, they had said at the beginning of the meeting that they could come back on. So Duan, please go right ahead.
Yes. And so this organization, Crystal is the staff contact for this, the reviewer for this application. She couldn't be here today, so I can answer any questions. But in a nutshell, the organization was founded in 2008. They're a national organization, as Cindy and Evelyn mentioned at the beginning of this meeting, and they provide through pro bono work assistance to refugees and migrant children on issues, immigration issues. So it doesn't appear to us from our initial review of the application that they've taken all the necessary deductions. They are a national organization. we could only count in terms of their qualified expenditures, work that's provided to indigent Californians. And so they have several offices outside of California, as well as some international branches. And it, you know, their a budget is about $23 million, and they have deducted about 10 million. It doesn't seem kind of consistent with how the math works, because given the number of their other outside of California offices. So we would like to request an eligibility review conference to delve into it a little deeper. But if Cindy and Evelyn are in the call, we'd love to kind of get your initial thoughts.
Yeah, it seems like they're both here. That's based on Cindy's comment. So Evelyn and Cindy, if you guys want to jump in.
Hey, Evelyn says that she's unable to unmute her. I think she's dialed in by phone.
Cindy, can you just confirm which phone number belongs to her, the 818 or a 253?
Let me just double check. She's the 253 number.
Okay, she can talk.
Hi, can you hear me? This is Evelyn.
Hi, Evelyn.
Yes, thank you.
Great. So I just want to make sure I understand the specific question. Yes, we are a national organization. Our local field offices do have their own budgets, and those are all spent within California on our direct services to our clients in California. And then could you just help me
Yes,
what's the other part of the question?
We're having
Thank
a little trouble understanding your deductions, and the staff contact is going to email both you and Cindy with some additional questions. But I guess just at a high level, how many offices do you have outside of California? Because when we saw on your website, when we spoke to Cindy on the phone, it seemed like there were numerous offices outside of California.
Yeah, so we have a total of 10 field offices. So 2 field offices are in California, and then there's one of our field offices in California is our San Francisco office, and they have a satellite office that is directly connected to them, incorporated into the San Francisco budget, and that office is in Fresno. Our other offices, we have Houston, Boston, Baltimore, one in Virginia, Atlanta, and then Newark, New Jersey. I think I just named them all.
Because from what you reported in the application, your organization is about $23 million, and you deducted $10 million. So you're at roughly, as you reported, 57% qualified expenditures. But I guess for us, we were curious because you had so many other offices outside of California. Then how can the California portion be at 57%?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure. So our finance team did put that information in. So our California budgets are about 2.8 million for Los Angeles and about 2.3 million, I believe. I'd have to double check for the San Francisco Fresno office. So I don't think they're 57% of our total budget. I'd have to double check where that figure came from.
Okay. So I think we would like an eligibility review conference kind of to drill down on the accountant piece of it, because what's before the committee is that they have to determine whether your organization has met the primary purpose requirement. And there's a presumption if 75% or more of your expenditures from the previous year are towards providing services for indigent Californians, free legal services for indigent Californians, then you meet that presumption. Between 50 and 75%, this commission takes a closer look, and below 50%, and the commission has not found an organization qualified below 50%. And so that's why we need to kind of drill down to get an accurate percentage so that the commission can make a determination.
I think that would be really helpful for us to do that because our finance team isn't here with us today. And I think that they would have a clear picture of the accounting related to kind of what I mean, a big shift that our agency has done, because our field offices operate pretty independently, because it's all direct legal services happening in the field offices. So all the other teams that have been mentioned in terms of advocacy international, it's a very, you know, staff-wise, it's a small portion of the agency, and it's very kind of DC heavy. So the field offices are all direct legal services, but they have started to localize the budgets, and I think account for them separately and differently. So we will try to get that information and get them onto the conversation and call so that we can answer these questions in detail. I think that all that we were saying earlier was that just trying to give you a sense of like our work and the characterization of the cases and the clients that we serve.
No, thank you so much, Evelyn and Cindy. And so our staff recommendation to the committee is an eligibility review conference, and we'd like to collect some information, additional information from Kind beforehand, and perhaps in light of some of the financial piece, perhaps Cindy and Evelyn at the eligibility review conference, if you can bring also maybe somebody from the finance team to answer some questions on call, that would be helpful for us.
Absolutely, we can. I think the more information, and we'll, you know, if there are specific things aside from what you've enumerated today, please let us know. We will do our best to prepare that in writing, and also bring staff members to kind of address those questions for you.
Great, thank you.
Are there any questions for Cindy or Evelyn from the commission? Corey.
Just a comment, Cindy and Evelyn, thank you very much for coming. And I mean, you'll get this conversation in more detail when you talk to staff at the review conference, but this seems like it might be a situation where you might want to consider creating a California entity, since we are limited to funding legal services for indigent Californians.
That was my question.
Sorry, go ahead.
Pamela, you were second.
I apologize for not pumping in the chat. I have a question, but that was my question as well. I put it in the margin. Is there a California requirement, service required? So that was a very good question, Corey.
Cindy and Evelyn, where are you two housed? Are you in California?
So
Cindy is, yes. Go ahead,
sorry,
Cindy.
So I am actually based out of California, and I used to be on the legal services team, and I've switched over to our very small, like 4 or 5 person policy shop, but I'm still based out of our San Francisco office. And so, and I know them kind of very well, and that's where most of my advocacy work has been so far, in California. Evelyn is not based in California. Evelyn, where are you? I'll let you speak.
I'm based out of our headquarters in DC.
So the work that we are looking for is specific to this office, and that's helpful. Thanks, Corey, for bringing it up. When we had spoken to Dawn earlier, she had brought up that was potentially a concern. So I think we were aware of that, but at the same time, you know, and we will bring that operational kind of information back up to our senior management and leadership again as well. It's just the current structure that it's been. Like I said, it's fairly unique. I don't know a lot of other legal aid organizations or that do as much direct legal services as us. That's national, has this many field offices, and it's been an interesting, you know, everything is pretty different state by state and by locality. So we're also learning that and trying to adjust accordingly as well.
So just a follow-up question to that. So then are each of these field offices responsible to generate their own funding?
So the majority of the, well, it's yes and no, because some of the funding is federal funding. And so, but the federal funding is allocated by the site specifically and is allocated to specific field offices. And on top of that, the individual field offices we are working on getting them specific funding for those field offices based off of usually local funding.
And
so it is, in that aspect, it's fairly site specific. Evelyn, is that accurate?
Yes, yes. So as the grant manager, I work with all of our field offices to pursue local foundation funding. And so as Cindy mentioned, most of, or not most, but a lot of our field offices have the federal funding is the largest portion of their funding, but then we also pursue local and state and city funding for each of our field offices. And like I said, the private foundation funding. As well as individual contributions from donors and a disbursement from our annual event.
Thank you.
But again, the specific budget, even from the federal funding, is like they dictate that also by site. So it's not like it's given to us for a decision. That is allocated already by them by the specific site. And that's in the past, it's been in our offices have, you know, a lot of it has been based off of the premise of the immigration court. So the reason that our Fresno office is considered a satellite office of our San Francisco office, even though it has a physical location, and we're some of the very few immigration removal defense attorneys with physical shop and a nonprofit in town in the Central Valley there, is because originally it was created because of all the cases in the Central Valley being venued out of the San Francisco Immigration Court. So that's why it's called a single office, even though it's a separate site with different clients that serves the Central Valley and the counties surrounding the Central Valley.
Very good. Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, shall we move on? Thank you, Cindy and Evelyn, for being here. It really does make a difference.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
You bet. Thank you.
So the next organization is Social Justice Collaborative.
So the Social Justice Collaborative provides removal defense, represents unaccompanied minors, and pursues appellate litigation opportunities on behalf of low-income immigrants in Northern and Central California. And while they note in their application that the additional funding over the last several years has allowed them to provide more free legal services, they only report at 53.44% qualifying expenditures. For their low-income clients that don't meet eligibility guidelines of their current grants, they charged 20% or less of the market rate to provide full scope representation, and this is what accounts for most of their non-qualifying work. They also deducted a small amount for limited scope expungement services. During our review, we noted that there might be a few additional non-qualifying services that we wanted to find out more information about. And for this reason, we're recommending an eligibility and review conference to determine if they're going to meet primary purpose.
Okay. Anyone have any comments or questions? Scrolling through. Okay. Shall we move to the next?
The next one is Uncommon Law. This is Dan.
Hi, yeah. Let me pull up my notes on this very briefly. We've heard today from Keith Watley, their CEO. This is a new applicant for QLSP funding. They were incorporated in 2012, but they've been in operation since 2006, according to their website. They've got a budget of about $660,000, an 8.5 person staff with 3 attorneys and 2 paralegals. And they're looking for an allocation in 18 counties, but they're based in Oakland. The memo identifies 2 issues that were before us when we wrote that memo, but one of them has been resolved. Their training program does seem to be an integral part of their delivery of legal services. As we heard already, the other issue is whether those services, which all relate to parole for incarcerated individuals, are actually eligible for funding under our authorities. This comes before you because a related question came up in the course of administration of partnership grants this year. And while review of that particular question is ongoing, pending resolution, our decision there was to ask those programs that were going to be, that had applications describing expungement services, we asked them not to use that funding stream for those purposes, to revise their applications to make sure that that would be clear. Since this is a similar issue, we wanted to flag it for your attention, and we recommend an eligibility review conference to explore further whether these services are considered to be civil legal services and can be funded with our grants.
And also, just to add to that, with this particular issue, we are going to ask Brady for a legal opinion to determine whether parole services constitute civil legal services and whether we can count it towards qualified expenditures or not.
Okay, any questions or comments, additions to add for the staff? Okay, hearing none, seeing none. Moving to number 7.
Number 7 is also Dan.
That's
USC Gold School of Law Immigration Clinic, and they're a returning applicant.
They are a returning applicant, but after a gap of more than a decade, I think. They were last funded in 2012 and are continuing to do the same work. It's a law school clinical program, which is a sort of a special creature in the realm of our grant organizations. These projects are typically not separately incorporated. They're part of a law school, and as such, many of them have difficulty with the audit requirement. We need the audit to reflect the expenditures cited in the application, and if the law school produces an audit that does not confirm those numbers, we flag it for your attention. And it has been our practice not to accept audits that don't have independently confirmed, independent confirmation of the numbers that we're using to calculate grants in the application. I've been in touch with the project and they are trying to get something that will meet our requirements by August 1st. I think they're trying to get an audit done by then, which seems unrealistic, but pending their ability to, we're recommending that we approve an extension till August 1st so that they can try to get something in. But if they can't by August 1st, our recommendation is that this application should not be considered complete. It should not be considered as an eligible organization.
Kim has a question. Dan,
yes.
Kim, please go right ahead.
Dan, can you explain the 10-year gap in funding? I think that's what I heard you say.
I didn't ask them why they dropped out, but I was staff at the time that they had been funded. And I think that at that time, they were having some staffing issues where people who had been working with us closely had to leave the organization. And it just became a harder task for them. So I don't know why they'd come back, but I think it just became really challenging for them at that time just to meet all of our requirements and deadlines.
Thank you.
Selena has something. Yeah, sorry.
I think Dan can confirm this, but I remember during that time we had a lot of law school clinics popping in and out. They would be IELTA funded for a few years, non-IELTA funded. And I suspect it was largely driven by the size of the IELTA grants at the time. It may have made reporting difficult to justify when the IELTA grants were so small, because that's really when we were really reducing back in the 2010, 11, 12, 13. So I could see why law school clinics would say it's not worth finding an independent auditor to do a financial review or audit when they, it was just very small grants.
Yeah, I recall that. I think it was all of 4 million or so at that time. So, Jim, please.
My question's been answered.
Okay. Any other comments or questions on this one or additions to?
But just to clarify, staff is not recommending an eligibility review conference for this. If they're able to submit something that satisfies the audit requirement, we don't see any other pending issues that we would then confirm the numbers and recommend that this program to be found eligible.
So then we should take this one out of course as well and have its own motion and voting thereafter. Yeah.
And Zahira has a question.
Oh, sorry. Zahira, please.
Thank you. So my question on this one is in terms of the law school or the clinic being able to do something that's independent. Is the requirement then that they do a full independent audit, or will they be financials that are reviewed by an independent auditor? Because the way the language is, it sounds like it could be either or, but I just was curious in terms of clarity of what the standard is for the law clinics.
You're right that this is an area where clarity, where greater clarity is needed. What we require is any form of independent audited confirmation, and that can take a lot of different forms. Sometimes the clinical program is treated as a separate column in the statement of functional expenses. Sometimes it's a separate note in the notes section with its own statement. And sometimes they even produce, the auditor will produce a kind of standalone document saying, in the course of our audit, we produced this statement for this piece. Any of those work. And this year, somehow, UC Davis actually provided a standalone full audit of the clinic as a business-like organization, which I thought was impossible. So there's a lot of different ways they can do it, but we want to make sure that somebody other than the internal staff said these are the right numbers.
And if I may add to that too, so the statute just says that the organization has to provide either a financial audit or a financial review if they're below the $500,000 threshold. Over the years, what we've discovered when working with law schools is that we've been told that most CPAs will not do a separate audit for just the law school clinic itself. So this commission has, been adaptable to law school clinics and has accepted what Dan has laid out. We will take the audit of the law school as an entity, but the commission has then required that the law school piece of it doesn't need to be separately audited, but needs to be audited so that there's some independence to that piece and it's not done in-house.
Thank you.
Thank you, Glenn.
All right, thank you, everyone. Should we move forward with a motion on this?
Should we vote on this one in terms of the staff recommendation and the ones that are remaining for the eligibility review conference?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So someone.
So is this just with respect to USC Gold and their audit extension?
Yes.
Yes.
I make a motion to accept staff's recommendation in terms of USC Gold.
I'm sorry if I may, kind also requires an audit extension. I don't know if you want to put that in the same motion.
For USC Gold, that wouldn't be a problem.
And US and kind as well. Let me go find that page here.
Thank you.
What number are they? Number 4. And also for kinds in need of defense.
So the motion by Pamela Bennett. Thank you.
Second.
Just a really quick
Louise.
point. Yeah, that was Louise. Just one point, going back to the actual document that circulated, I don't see that as a staff recommendation for the extension.
For number 4?
For number 4. Where, Erica, am I missing that?
It's on page 6.
Yeah.
Right.
It's tucked in there.
In there.
On the PowerPoint, it's more clear.
Oh, I see in that. So it's not in the staff recommendation, it's in the discussion, second paragraph.
Yes.
Okay. Okay, so we have Pamela moved
And Louise seconded.
Cool. Claudia? Claudia?
Yes. I'm sorry, I was just hearing some feedback, so I was pausing. It
Oh, no.
seems like we fixed it. Okay, great.
Bales Fightmaster?
Yes.
Bennett,
Yes.
Connolly,
Yes.
DeBose,
Yes.
Delfino,
Yes.
Friedman,
Yes.
Mann,
Yes.
Meeker,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
Kleinhold,
Yes.
and Savage.
Yes.
The motion passes.
And now we just need a motion for an eligibility review conference for community lawyers, East Bay family defenders, KIND, Social Justice Collaborative, and Uncommon Law. We've already voted on and not KIND, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I'm getting confused. We've already voted for Housing Rights Center, but we're voting for 1, 2, 4, 5, and 6 now, eligibility review conferences.
1, 2, 4, 5, and 6.
The community
So
lawyers.
moved.
Was that Bob? I'm sorry.
Bob Planthold. Bob Planthold.
We did KIND with the one we just did.
We did KIND for just audit extension, not the eligibility review conference.
Oh, okay.
So we've already done Housing Rights Center for eligibility review conference. So let me just repeat
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, the motion is the staff recommendation for an eligibility review conference for the following organizations: community lawyers, East Bay family defenders, kids in need of legal defense, Social Justice Collaborative, and Uncommon Law. We've already voted for an eligibility review conference for Housing Rights Center.
Very good, thank you. So the motion is for those organizations only for an eligibility review conference. And Bob, are you still moving?
Yes.
Thank
Still.
you.
Yes.
Okay, great. We have a second?
I'll second.
Is that Luis?
Yes.
Okay, very good, thank you. Shall we move to roll call?
Yes. Cloggy,
Yes.
Bales Fightmaster,
Yes.
Bennett,
Yes.
Connolly,
Yes.
DeBose,
Yes.
Delfino,
Yes.
Friedman,
Yes.
Mann,
Yes.
Meeker,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
Planhold,
Yes.
Savage.
Yes.
The motion passes.
Thank you. Okay,
Then
ladies.
the next issue on the. Oh, sorry to interrupt you, Banashe. Were you?
No, I was just inviting the two of you to carry on. Yeah.
Thank you. So the next issue on our agenda is primary purpose. Can you see my PowerPoint, the PowerPoint up again?
We can, yes.
Okay, great. So just a reminder, the primary purpose requirement for a qualified legal services project is that they have to be a nonprofit incorporated and operated exclusively in California, and it provides as its primary purpose legal services without charge to indigent persons, and that has quality control procedures approved by the State Bar of California. And there's our State Bar rules say that both QSPs and support centers meet this presumption of primary purpose if 75% or more of their expenditures in the previous year was incurred for these provisions of services to the indigent Californians. So these are the organizations that, when we did our sweep, have fallen below the 75% presumption. And Erica can take you through and provide a little bit more information.
So Eviction Defense Collaborative, this is their first year of funding in 2020. And when they applied last year, their qualified expenditures came in at just over 50%, but they were found to meet the primary purpose requirement. This year in their application, when it first came in, their percentage of qualified expenditures was 72%. They've since made some updates and some revisions to the application, which brought it up to 74%. And just to back up for a minute, what they do is they provide legal assistance and advocacy and representation to low-income individuals in San Francisco who are facing eviction. Their services are primarily focused on providing rental assistance and representation in court And so a significant portion of their services are dedicated to that programming for rental assistance. So when looking at their qualified expenditures this year, some of the things that came up that were questions that we had were they used data from the second half of 2019 when their audit is from their fiscal year of 2018 to 2019. So they reported that in July of 2019, they had a new mechanism for tracking expenditures and client information. And so they felt that using the numbers from the second half of 2019 would give a better representation of the percentage of time devoted to non-qualifying services. So that was one thing. And then they did deduct for their personnel and non-personnel time related to the rental assistance, but they did not deduct the rental assistance itself, which like the funds that went to providing that rental assistance. And my understanding is that that's how we have treated that with other organizations in the past, that the funds themselves could stay in their qualified expenditures. They did mention potentially claiming that as a pass-through, but they weren't clear on whether it met that definition. And so we do still have some questions to follow up on with them, but given that what they've reported thus far is significantly higher in terms of their qualified expenditures than last year, and even if you were to take out the relocation assistance funds, they would still be higher than the percentage last year. And so that's why we're not necessarily recommending an eligibility review conference at this point. And so we would recommend finding that they meet the primary purpose requirement.
This is Corey. It seems like I understand staff's recommendation, and I think it makes sense, but it seems like when you're figuring out qualified expenditures, you're going to have some difficult questions. So yes. But that will, I guess, comes at a different step.
We're still working with them. They have submitted revisions, and so I've been reviewing them, but I still have kind of some questions since the last update. So, but that being said, the things that I do have questions about, even if it reduced their qualified expenditures, it would still, from what I can tell, come in higher than where they were at last year, and that's why I would be recommending that they be found to meet the primary purpose requirement. But yes, it is possible that that number may change in the next few weeks.
And then also just to clarify, so below 75% we bring to the committee. This committee has had a practice of finding programs qualified between the 50 and 75%. If you didn't want to find a program qualifying within that, we would need to seek legal opinion from Brady to see whether you've created kind of an expectation, because in the past you have. So say Eviction Defense Collaborative came back as we're squaring away their qualified expenditures, we're a little bit below 50%. We don't know whether you have the authority to not find them qualifying, given the fact that historically we have found programs qualifying between 50 and 75%. We would need a legal opinion on that.
So just for process sake, Erica, do you need us to take action on any of these items? On any of these programs, these organizations?
My understanding, Duan can correct me if I'm wrong, but that you haven't had to vote on it if you're not recommending the eligibility review conference.
Yes, that's correct. At this juncture, Bonachet, you need to vote to see whether you want to move forward with an eligibility review conference or not. This is just staff recommendation, preliminary recommendation for primary purpose. You don't vote on whether they meet primary purpose or not. you know, once the application review period concludes, before you go to the commission, you'll vote as a whole which organizations are eligible and which organizations are not eligible, because some will be not eligible, not because they don't meet the primary purpose requirement, but it may be because of some other requirement that they haven't met.
Right. So I just wanted to clarify, just to make sure that we're all on the same page, that this is really, you're providing us an update at this point.
Yes, yes. And you let us know if you want to an eligibility review conference to explore this issue more.
Got it. Thank you.
Were there any other questions about Eviction Defense Collaborative? Okay. Then I'll move on to Family Violence Law Center. Family Violence Law Center operates in Alameda County, and they provide direct services to survivors of domestic violence and sexual assault, including self-help services and representation in court. In their application, their qualified expenditures came in at 67%. And in their explanation for that, they went into great detail about the holistic service model that they have, and that they—
Erica, you cut out.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was just saying that in the application, they provided an explanation for their qualified expenditures coming in under 75%, and they talked about the holistic service model that they have, which focuses both on protection and prevention. And so they do have, for example, some services dedicated to youth empowerment and education. They have a counselor on staff who helps with some of the other ancillary needs that clients may have when dealing with the trauma of domestic violence and sexual assault. And so they did make appropriate deductions on their qualified expenditures. But essentially what they were saying is that these services are integral to having long-lasting effective results with the legal services, so that they would be helping set up clients for success in order to get them the stability and the support that they need through these other services that they offer. But they did emphasize the fact that when they were founded, they've always had the primary focus of providing legal services, and that they are one of only 2 providers in Alameda County that does provide direct representation for this domestic violence work. And so for that reason, we're not recommending an eligibility review conference, and think that they would still meet primary purpose.
And this is also a program that historically they've always hovered around this percentage, and the commission has previously felt comfortable with that, their model service model.
Any questions or comments on this one?
And then I think that Greg handled legal assistance for seniors. Greg, if you want to give an update.
Sure, I could provide a quick overview. Legal assistance for seniors operating out of Alameda County has essentially 3 core programs. Number 1 is the provision of legal services, free direct legal advice and representation to Alameda County residents who are over the age of 60 or age 50 and over for guardianship cases. Their second area is in health insurance counseling and advocacy program, or HICAP, which provides counseling to Medicare eligible persons on health insurance options, enrollment, and other issues. And then finally, a community education piece, which provides educational presentations and outreach to older adults, service providers, and other interested community members. In their 2021 IELTA application, they reported a QE percentage of 66%, which is actually identical to the percentage reported in their 2020 application, and which was approved by the commission in staff's preliminary review of their 2021 application. We didn't notice any material differences in terms of the services that they were providing. They also did cite, as they did in the prior year, their work in conservatorship as well as HICAP, which is, in their opinion, bringing down their QE percentage. But once again, it lines up with their prior QE percentage in 2020 So as a result of those, as a result of that fact pattern, staff is not recommending an eligibility review conference, and that they
Okay. Any comments or questions for Craig on this one? Okay.
And then I think Christine has an update on Social Justice Collaborative.
It's basically the same that we covered earlier, recommending the eligibility and review conference just based on the fact that they're at 53, and we want to make sure that there's no other non-qualifying work that's going to put that percentage lower as well.
So we don't, just to clarify, we don't need to do a vote because this was a new app. You've already previously agreed to have an eligibility review conference. And then 5 is kind, and then again, they reported in their application 7%, and we put there inconclusive because we believe that there are probably additional deductions and the percent that was not accurate. And as you voted, we will be having an eligibility review conference. Oops.
Okay, I have an update for family legal assistance at Chalk Children's. Just to give you a quick overview, they provide free full attorney representation to low-income families undergoing medical treatment at the Children's Hospital. And that legal assistance includes guardianships, conservatorships, powers of attorney, and advanced healthcare directives. They had initially left the qualified expenditures form blank, even though they had completed the total corporate expenditures. They have since completed that tab and had no deductions, which puts their qualified expenditures at 100%. And this is consistent with the past 2 years that they have applied. And nothing significantly different in their application this year, except that they have requested an extension to provide their financial review and received approval for that for August 1st. So we want to review the final financial review to determine if there's any expenses that could be deducted. Oh, but I'm sorry, we're not requesting an eligibility and review conference.
Any questions or comments on that one? Okay. And Housing Rights Center.
Yes, so as I mentioned on their qualified expenditures, Housing Rights Center did not have any deductions in their initial submission of the application. It's possible that they have since updated it. I can't say exactly what the percentage would be, but it did seem that there should have been some deductions based on other reported areas in the application where they said that they served over income or charged for certain services. And so I think as we've already recommended the eligibility review conference, that this will be a question that can be clarified during that.
Yeah, very good. Thank you. Thank you all for that. Shall we move on to pass-through funds?
Yes. So the last issue, substantive issue for today is pass-through funds. So we provide kind of a brief in the memo, really briefly summarize this issue. 2 years ago, the staff application to take out pass-through before we analyze whether a program meets the primary purpose requirement. And the reason why we did that, previously in our previous applications, through wasn't reported separate line item. It was reported in really inconsistent ways in parts of the application. Instances, the organization would report pass-through as contract services, and other places they reported in this other column. Some organizations weren't reporting it at all. So we wanted to deal with it kind of consistently. So staff came up with this definite application, and then we asked per pass-through at the top, report the pass-through to calculate their primary purpose requirement. Those pass-through funds aren't the primary purpose calculation. And the reason being is that when we used to do it previous to 2018, and not take it off from the top, trigger a lot of eligibility review conferences. Some of through funds, as you'll see in the next slide, quite large, and the committee wanted to inquire more, but there would be about 24 applications every year that had pass-throughs. And so when to redesign that, we thought that we'd be helping out staff, commissioners, as well as programs, so it wouldn't trigger that additional layer review. However, last year, as you all know, we did have an application that took, you know, that we believe, you know, a kind of they kind of broadened the definition of pass-through than what we had intended. You know, we intended that this application instruction was kind of a guidance, but there was kind of a lay understanding of what pass-through was. But because, because of the existing definition, we had to take a more broad interpretation of it. And so at the March commission meeting, staff did propose to redesign this definition and this part of the application so that we would have a more accurate definition of pass-through that's more in line with what the common definition of pass-through is in the nonprofit world. However, the commission at that time thought that it would be better to save that redesign for the codification process. So for the 2021 application, we have the existing pass-through funds definition that is more broad than what we would like. So with that said, let me move to the next slide. And this is including your meeting materials also. And we ran a report for you to let you know what the pass-through figures are for the organizations that have claimed pass-through. So there are 21 organizations that have claimed pass-through funds. The vast majority are pretty insignificant, but for the top, 6 or 8 programs, you'll see that the pass-through funds are quite large. So we wanted to share this with you, and the staff recommendation is that given the fact that our definition is very broad and that our application does not ask for programs to identify what the pass-through is and how they justify how they've applied our definition of pass-through to what the funds are, that we find this sufficient. But we would like more discussion on this topic. Erica, am I leaving anything else out?
I don't think so.
So, right. As you all probably recall, in the March meeting at the commission level, we began, well, this was on our agenda, and we began looking at this question of pass-through, and most specifically the definition. And so in looking at these applications that are before us for 2020, 2021 IELTA EF that's being presented, if we look at these pass-through numbers, one thought in preparation for today's meeting that's come to mind is there a way in which we could, and I know we have a few of you from codification here as well in this subcommittee, if we could create a working group where we can pull this question of pass-through out of the codification process and begin to look at the pass-through definition and how to really have that pass-through definition, the new version that comes out of a working group, be able to help shape and tailor the intention. So pass-through, as Dwan has mentioned, has different definitions in the nonprofit world. So one thought is to go to some of these organizations, go to some of the programs, and potentially that first 7 or 8, and to see how are they thinking, what are they doing with respect to pass-through, and how are they interpreting our definition, and which could start to help define for us and give us additional data points as we're redefining this. And obviously this call and the March meeting is starting to provide for the program's notice that we're looking at the definition of pass-through, to have them be ready, but also potentially these folks that we're looking at, these 7 to 8, provide for the staff how have they been using the definition for their work. And so I think what the staff is also asking us is to help them think this through, and to provide our comments or additional questions we may want to pose to these programs as they go back. So if there are any thoughts, questions, comments. The goal is that come 2022, the programs have received that's the goal, have received the updated version of our pass-through definition. Corey, please, you have a comment.
Yeah. Sorry. So in codification, we did end up, I believe, with final proposed language that was ready for public comment. And
No, we didn't, Corey. We
didn't
never
get that
got
far?
there.
I thought that we had gotten quite close to that. No,
not even close to that. No. So what happened in March was.
I'm thinking of the I'm thinking of the audit language.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then I will say that, and sorry that my memory is playing tricks on me. One of the things that was discussed in codification was that staff wanted a larger package of changes, but if this is something that really needs to be resolved, then perhaps it should be developed and presented to the Board of Trustees without waiting for any of the other issues to be resolved, especially since codification is kind of on hold given the exigency of right now. So,
and I think, and that's the thinking, Corey, is that this seems to be something that is important to come forward and kind of out of that process with the working group looking at it. Zahira, you're also on the codification subcommittee, and I see you have a comment. Please chime in.
Thank you. I think in terms of like the overall timing of this and trying to reach a definition, I just kind of echo what others have said in terms of it seems as if this is a critical piece to look at, and with the broader pieces being on a different timeline, then it probably does make sense to take this out and think about it a little bit more. The other thing is in terms of the definition of pass-through. I think in prior slide there was a conversation around cases where an organization is a fiscal sponsor, and I would guess that for a lot of these organizations, they don't necessarily think of themselves as a fiscal sponsor for another entity. It may be that looking at these amounts, that what the funding that they're getting is funding that might be, but would be good to know from them. It looks like it's funding that's probably specifically supposed to be going to clients. And so if you looked at their 990, it probably would be in the form of grants that are then being distributed out. It could be that they did like a joint agreement or a joint grant proposal with an organization. But you know, when I look at the first one, the Immigrant Legal Resource Center, I mean, that's pretty significant. And so it seems like there's a business practice, a structural piece there that isn't necessarily a fiscal sponsor, but that is the reason why they're showing up that way. And so I think it'll be helpful to figure out Banashee, like your suggestion, to really understand what they think of as pass-through and what's falling into these categories. I also wonder that as we're thinking about this, if we also are thinking through what exactly are we trying to control for and trying to capture. Because it seems as if like the funding that an organization is distributing to clients, or for in the case of even like an organization that does some stuff with housing rights where they're distributing rental income, like none of that we would want to count necessarily. And so that would fall under this kind of broadened definition of pass-through that specifically calls out what those things are. And then it seems like we would be talking about the rest of it, but having the conversation and finding out from each of these organizations, like what they think of as pass-through, and then also probably comparing that with what they put in the 990 as those grants that go to separate organizations or to individuals, would help with some of the initial framing of this definition.
Yeah, it's so spot on. I mean, the traditional pass-through, it's been the fiscal sponsor relationship. And so I think part of those questions would also be if they are operating as a fiscal sponsor, are they taking a percentage when the funds are coming through? You know, an administrative percentage of 3%, 2%, 1%. And is there any other relationship to those funds after they've passed through? I think all of those types of questions will help as when I'm seeing Brady moving. So I'm thinking of you as well, as Brady is going to obviously help draft this in title form. But I don't know if those types of questions are starting to help the staff as you guys go back, but it really is an inquiry of these programs as to what are they thinking when they're thinking pass through. And Kim Savage has a comment I see here. Brady, did you want to jump in here? You don't need to. I just see you. I'm just not sure if I see Kim and Erica. Jim has his hand up, and Corey has a question too. Okay, thank you. So we'll take
Bennett also.
Okay, great. So let me just get everybody in queue here. So Kim, Jim, Corey, and Pamela in that order, please. Kim, go right ahead.
My comment is only that I'm not in favor of dealing with codification items in a piecemeal fashion. So I support the idea of information gathering right now, but I do think that this needs to come back to codification to be looked at in relationship to the other items we're looking at. I just would not want us to move ahead and make a decision, because I think what we really need is looking at this item in relationship to some of the other things that codification needs to look at. I think a piecemeal decision on this, you know, might not make sense in terms of other decisions that we make later on. And if we need sort of temporary clarification on some aspects of it, I'm fine with that. But I am concerned that that we not make this decision-making in isolation of kind of overall framework.
Anyone, staff or anyone have anything to say to that? Or I can, oh, Bob is echoing your comments, Kim. If there isn't anything, I can move on to Jim.
Yeah, I just had a comment on the methodology mentioned. You say look at the top 8 and take those out, single those out and see what's happening. If you look at the top 8, you find that support centers are overrepresented compared to, say, the bottom 8. And I would suggest that if you're gonna approach that, you should probably take the top 8 and the bottom 8 to make sure that you're not factoring in a rule change that disproportionately favors support centers over legal services providers, because there does seem to be a type effect going on here.
Well, not to create more work for staff, would it make sense from your vantage point, Jim, to just look at all 21 of them and see what they come back with? If what we're doing is fact finding right now.
Sure, I was just responding to the suggestion we look at the top 8, because if you look at the top 8, support centers are overrepresented compared to the bottom 8.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Corey. Thank you, Jim.
I didn't have anything more than what I typed out, which was just to what extent staff knows what these path scores are actually for, even though there was no reporting actually required specifically on this.
I actually can speak a little bit to that question. With regard to immigrant legal ICLS, I'm sorry, ILRC, as a result of federal policy, they have had a bonanza of fundraising and have also taken a very prominent national role as a kind of a lead agency organizing many others toward more advocacy and services. In that role, they have been receiving grants for other organizations, and that's their pass-through in that case. Other organizations really are in the fiscal sponsorship world, and we have even required them to deduct their expenditures for fiscal agency purposes because that was a non-qualified activity. But those expenses were not considered to be the actual funds that they were administering as a fiscal agent. Those were not considered to be part of their own expenditures. So it's a really wide array, and without looking at each of these projects, we won't know what all of them are doing.
This is Ron here. I guess I have a clarification question. Are you seeking staff to ask all 21 programs what the rationale for the pass-through and the description of the pass-through funds are for purposes of eligibility or for purposes of codification or both? Because I think there's also a messaging question to when we do reach out to programs, if that's what you'd like us to do.
Well, from my thinking, I don't think this is a conversation for eligibility. The definition's what the definition is currently. I think it's for codification to inform us how the programs have been relating to the definition. So that we can, we have Zahira and Kim and Corey who are all part of codification here as well. So it really does help lend, given that codification is kind of on pause right now, it kind of helps lend to the new construction of the definition. That's my thinking, but would love to hear what others have here. And Zahira, I have you on the list right after Pamela.
My comment was just like, I agree with Corey's comment as well, kind of redefines mine. What the monies are being, I said, deviated to accommodate. And at the time of the pass-through, and not after the fact, not after the fact that they made a huge decision of, as an example, $150 billion to share with another group. At the point that they're making that large of an adjustment, they should reach out to staff and say, this is what we're thinking. Is this okay to move forward? And if not, if it doesn't comply with the rules, then we have to rethink that, leave it in the budget, put it actually toward client services. Because when I see the large amounts here, I'm thinking, how are they providing services to the clients? If everything, I can't say everything is being used as a pass-through, but what services are actually being rendered if you have this large amount of a pass-through? What is actually trickling down to the client? So that was my concern.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that having those, engaging the programs and finding out more about how they're looking at the definition, utilizing the definition is going to be helpful. Okay, Zahira, you had a follow-up question, and then Herman after Zahira, please.
Thank you. So my follow-up question was around the Immigrant Legal Resource Center and the conversation around them in terms of like how that funding is coming in through. So it sounds as if, are they, do they have like a collective impact effort that they're part of, where they're the backbone entity, and then the funding is then going to the sub-entities, but then they're leading the efforts that all of those organizations are doing?
Yeah, very much. This is a support center, and they're recruiting and coordinating other organizations that are providing direct services. They're making sure the services are client appropriate, they're current and effective, and they're also working on the coordinated messaging and outreach so the communities are properly being integrated into these efforts or getting access to these efforts. So it's really a huge national process being managed by a whole bunch of different nonprofits. We see something similar with healthcare, where another one of our organizations receives a significant amount of funding and then distributes it to a bunch of other QLSPs for healthcare purposes. And none of them are making decisions about, I'm going to give you this much money. This is coming from the grantor. It gets deducted because it's exchange funds between organizations at this point. But this happens a lot where the organization, the organizing entity is a nonprofit, and their main work is making sure that everybody else gets to be as effective as they can be. Does that help?
Thank you. No, that helps. And I think that that in looking at this definition and really being able to understand and helping organizations figure out what's passed through and what's not passed through, I think some of it kind of goes to who's getting that funding ultimately at the end. But then, especially with these organizations where the funding that they're getting in is then going out to support other work that they are then helping to coordinate, then there's the other piece of how do we even understand the funding that they are expending, the resources they're expending on that level of coordination. And I think it's often really tricky for organizations when they're doing all of this collective work, but ultimately it adds a lot of value overall to the system in which they're working. And so I think unfortunately with some of these from a work perspective, they may take fairly detailed conversations with staff to actually understand what the money is, where it's going, and then where the coordination of that funding, to the earlier point in terms of whether they're a fiscal sponsor or not, but where the coordination of that funding lies in their budget, because it might not lie under a fiscal sponsorship line item. It might be a programmatic line item of the broader efforts that they're doing. But being able to sort through that will probably help us as organizations come in the future to understand how we consider these resources, especially if it's something that happens quite often. It would be helpful to have a better understanding of it. But thank you for all of that.
And Sarah, if I may just interject, and I think that's a really good point, and this is why the original staff recommendation was to pretty much save it for codification and let the programs kind of self-execute this definition, because the analysis would be very time intensive and cumbersome for staff to be able to do for 21 programs at this juncture.
Herman, you have a follow-up?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask Jim a question. If I understood him correctly, he said that the support centers were overrepresented in the top 8, but if you look at the bottom 8, it's the same number, 3 support centers in the top 8 and 3 support centers in the bottom 8. And so I didn't understand what Jim was saying, so I'm just trying to seek some clarification.
My concern was more in the middle. You know, anytime you have some distribution looking one way at the extremes, either the top extreme or the low extreme, and the center part looking very different, suggests something might be going on. I mean, I don't know if
Jim, I think you cut it out.
Am I out? Hello? Hello? Anybody
You
here?
were out, yeah.
I hear you.
Okay.
You're there now, yes.
Okay, it's just that my point, Herman, was that they're not evenly distributed throughout the entire distribution. That's all. And I was worried that there might be a type effect. That is, our support center is treating pass-throughs differently than the legal services providers. That's all. Hello?
Jim, there are also less support centers. So I'm not a statistician like you, but there are less support centers. So I don't know if that would explain some of it. But.
Yeah, but that just goes to my issue about creating a rule that's primarily driven by a minority of the organizations. Do you really want to do that? And just be sensitive to the implications of that. So that if you're looking at the different organizations and the way they approach this, you don't want to just look at the extremes. That is, those that have the largest pass-throughs. You want to include some of the other organizations. That's my point. Hello?
And it's a valid point. I think it's a valid point. So, okay, so what do we want to give to the staff here? First and foremost, Duan and Erica, are you guys getting enough in terms of our input on this and thinking on this? Is there anything that we're missing?
I have to be honest, I think, I don't want to speak for Erica, but I'm very confused now what you would like us to do.
Yeah, well, I'm looking at your staff recommendation, and it seems as though what you want here is the discussion that we've had, knowing that this is an issue, and that you'd like us to, which is what I think we all agree with, to go forward with eligibility, because this is what the definition is, and these folks, all these programs are comporting with that. And then to take this question into codification when codification resumes, or do you want to deal with it? Would you prefer to deal with it outside of codification, noting Kim and Bob's comments on that?
I'll speak for myself. Erica and I haven't conferred exactly, but I think, what we'd like is eligibility. And I don't know if we have an opinion whether pass-through should be dealt with outside of codification or within codification. After listening to the commissioners today, they're either or and deal with it as a whole. I think our concerns of the staff, because the timeline to review application is very, so that's why my recommendation was, given that our definition of pass-through is instant and that we've asked the programs, they got a complete application and yet they follow the instruction. Unless you think that it's worthwhile, information is not back to get additional information from the programs regarding pass-through, given the limitations of our definition.
So Dwan, you're coming in and out. I'm not sure if you're having some difficulty on your end. Corey seems to be hearing it the same way. So let me see if I got it. That we're in agreement in terms of this group, and they're all moving forward based on the definition. That what you'd prefer is this to be in codification, not to take it out of turn, but leave it in codification. And if the codification doesn't get to it until 2023 or later, that's okay. Or 2022. Duan, are you there?
Pending Duan's return, I can just read out the staff recommendation from the memo, if that's helpful. I believe
Yes.
that's what she was going for.
Yeah.
You know, I'm sorry. I think
Yeah, Duan, we really can't, Duan, we can't hear you very well.
You're cutting out as well.
Yeah. Do you want to call in? Do you want to use your phone?
Okay, pending that, since the memo has been distributed, I can get away with just reading out what it says. Given the existing broad definition of pass-through funds and the limited information offered in this section of the application, staff recommends accepting the amount reported without requiring additional information in order to confirm if the definition of pass-through was correctly applied. However, staff reiterates its recommendation to revisit this question through the codification process. What I heard from what I could hear, Duan, was that it makes a lot of sense to talk about this early, but it also makes a lot of sense to keep it in codification, given the number of issues. Staff's recommendation was to refer this to codification, even if it's going to take a little longer to get to it.
Folks could, if folks could mute themselves, it would. Now we're having.
Can you hear me?
We can't hear you, Dawn.
Okay, let me call in.
Oh, wait.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, I'm sorry. The tech issues. So I was saying, I don't want to speak at all.
Oh, sorry, Dawn. Sorry, Dawn.
Call in. Call in.
Call in.
Okay, I think Duan is going to call in. While we're waiting for Duan to come in, so Corey, Kim, and Zahira, because I'm conscious of what Kim was saying in terms of taking this as a whole, right? And could this question of pass-throughs have an impact on other codification work that you're doing? You guys aren't getting back together again until the fall, is that right?
Yeah, September.
Okay. So then maybe it makes sense to pause it here. And do you see as part of codification that you would want to know some of these, do this deep dive later and fact find later?
Hi, Monica, can you hear me now?
We can, yes, yes.
Okay, great. I'm in. Sorry.
All right. All we were doing right now is just getting a sense of when codification is meeting again and what they might need to be able to help with the determination for the new definition. But go ahead, just if you could let us know in terms of what the staff recommendation is and for us to move forward on this one.
So I don't think we formulated a staff recommendation in terms of whether pass-through should be dealt with expedited in the codification process or saved to be dealt with as a package for codification. However, we do need your opinion on how to handle whether you agree with the staff recommendation of not asking the programs for additional information at this juncture, or you would like us to go back and ask the programs. Because of the, we only have about a month left before we have to finalize all the eligibility issues.
And what I was saying, I have to hear what the rest of the folks on this call think as well, is that the programs are using the definition in the way the definition has been articulated. So I don't think that we can now say they're not eligible. This is the definition and they're utilizing the definition. So that's my thought on that question. And in terms of additional information, that's what I was just asking the ladies that are on the call, Kim, Corey, and Zahira, who are also in codification. What else might they need? And would they need this additional fact finding to be able to do the work that they're going to ultimately do? And if the answer is yes, it doesn't need to be done, I don't think, in the next 30 days or so. This could be done later. So those are the thoughts on those two questions. If I'm off in my thinking and the rest of the commission members have input, please jump in.
Pamela Bennett has a question.
Kim has a question and Pamela. Okay, please, Kim and then Pamela.
Oh, mine is just a comment. I just want to reiterate that I think the fact finding is really important. It would help inform codification when we start up again, and it could potentially speed up our work on this particular point. Whether anything could be done in advance, a survey, an inquiry with, a half a dozen questions in advance of the fall. I don't know that anybody has the time to do that. The other thing is I would want to make sure that if we sent out anything in advance that we didn't articulate it in a way that made the programs nervous.
Right.
Because they're already under incredible anxiety. So that's my only comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Pamela and then Zahira.
My comment is that we should always ask, based on the fact that we have restrictions and guidelines to follow. We have someone to report to. So I think we should always ask. That should be in the data, where the monies are going, who's being served by them. If this is monies earmarked to be helping out someone else to branch off and start a new program. Again, those type of decisions should be brought to the commission or to the staff, and they can let that program know immediately that's not a good direction to go into.
Very good. Thank you, Pamela. Zahira.
Thank you. I'd say that it's already been covered in terms of just echoing the comments of additional information would be helpful in this instance. And I would also say also to Kim's point that in terms of the timing, we do have a little bit more flexibility in terms of timing because we would be talking about reconvening in the fall. But I just wonder in terms of the timing, just having it so that we're able to get information that's helpful without overburdening the team in terms of all the other pieces that they have to really focus on right now.
So let me ask a question. Duan and Erica, you guys had created for us that timeline in the last meeting we had in terms of what we have coming before us, right? if you guys could guide us from your vantage point of when you might think you'd be able to go back to the programs for fact finding. And this might be, I don't know, September, October. And I know September and October, we have other items that are coming before us. But if you guys could let us know when you think you might be able to go back. And then maybe what we can do is, in the meantime, Kim and Corey and Zahira and any other members of this subcommittee have additional questions to pose and to help you guys from what we might need to look at this. Maybe send some of those over to you guys. I don't want to bombard you. So again, kind of on a process question, what would work best, and then timing?
I think timing that ideal for the staff is if you wanted to do just purely a fact investigation and take it outside of eligibility. I think that would be preferred for both staff and I presume for the organizations, because I do think that with some of these large pass-through amounts, if we're going to send out a survey while we're determining their eligibility, is going to cause some anxiety in the community. So unless you're actually going to take that information and deal with it at eligibility, I would propose to do it outside of application review period and perhaps later in the year, you know, in the fall or winter after eligibility has been determined, if it's purely for fact finding and wouldn't go towards your analysis of their eligibility determination.
Yeah, I want to just make this really clear, because I know that we have programs that join us on these calls, and members of the public that join us on these calls. And again, what Kim highlighted, we are not looking at this from an eligibility perspective. This year, eligibility does not include this question on the pass-through definition. So I think I'm speaking for everyone when I say that. So just to take the anxiety out of the space for the good folks that are doing the good work.
Well, with that said, then we should just why don't we take this back to codification, and for codification to come out with questions, and staff can send out a survey, and then it could be a more thoughtful process and not kind of hastily thrown together then.
So then this question will you guys will pick it up in the fall, it sounds like, and then you all could come up with the questions, and if you need any assistance from any of the other folks on the commission, of course, we're here. And then maybe before the survey goes out, Jim, you could help in looking at the survey questions and helping us, given your expertise. So it sounds like that's where we're at with this line item. Yes. It'll go to codification.
Yes, that's what's sounding. Can we take a vote on the staff recommendation though, as it relates to eligibility?
Yes.
Pamela Bennett has a comment or question.
Pamela, please.
I just wanted to be reminded of when will the calculations be done for 2021 distribution? What month is that?
Do you mean the award calculation, Pamela?
Yes, yes.
So after this commission crafts a recommendation for the commission, it will be presented at the commission's August 14th meeting for which programs are eligible and which programs are not. After the commission votes on that, staff has about 2 weeks to run the actual allocation, because it's a pretty complicated technical formula that we run on Smart Simple. And then we verify with another database to make sure the calculation is correct. We then release budgets for programs to complete at the end of August.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, great. So do I have a motion? Dan, do you want to reread the motion once again, or the staff recommendation?
Oh, are we going back to the staff recommendation? Let me read that again. Where did that go? Shoot.
I have it here in front of me. So
Thank you.
It's page 10.
I'll make a motion that, wait a minute. the staff recommendation is that they accept the amounts reported without requiring additional information at this time in terms of the pass-through. However, staff is recommending that the codification subcommittee revisit this issue.
Fantastic, thank you. I'm going to copy that right into the vote tally.
Do I have a second on that?
Second.
Okay, Zahira, thank you. Roll call vote.
Aklagi,
Yes.
Bales Fightmaster,
Yes.
Bennett,
Yes.
Connolly,
Yes.
DeBose,
Yes.
Delfino,
Yes.
Friedman,
Yes.
Mann,
Yes.
Meeker,
Yes.
Myers,
Yes.
Lanholt,
Abstain.
and Savage.
Yes.
And may I ask, I have a Ms. Mann as seconding it. Who moved the motion?
Luis.
Louise.
Thank you.
Okay. Erica and Duan, are you still with us?
Yeah, I'm on the call. Erica,
Okay.
can you just do the scheduling? I'm not going to pull up the PowerPoint again, but.
Sure. So we just wanted to take you all through just some next steps over the next month or so. So what the committee voted on today was to schedule eligibility review conferences for 6 organizations. So we will be trying to do that in the next 2.5 weeks or so. Staff will work on scheduling, and we will need some committee members for each of those conferences. And so starting next week, we will plan on reaching out to you individually to gauge your availability to participate in those conferences. If you haven't participated before, they're typically 1 to 2 hours and will require some preparation time beforehand, but staff will provide you with a memo and the governing authorities and questions that we have come up with, and certainly any that you have in reviewing the materials. And then thank you to those who have completed the survey for the subsequent meetings. July 28th will be the next meeting from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. And then we're going to schedule the following meeting on August 6th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. So the meeting on July 28th will be to review those eligibility review conferences that have been completed and to discuss those, as well as applications that have come in that are requesting a pro bono allocation. And then that last meeting will be to tie up any loose ends and also make the recommendation to the commission regarding the organizations that should be eligible for the 2021 IELTA and EAF funding. And then after that meeting will be the commission meeting on August 14th. We did want to ask the committee's authority for the committee to delegate permission to staff in the event, because we are still in the midst of application review and haven't finalized our review of every single application, that we would have the authority to schedule additional eligibility review conferences if we have any major concerns that come up between today and the next committee meeting, so that there's not any undue delay in sorting that out, because as Dawn mentioned, there is a little bit of a time crunch. So that would be the last thing that we would be asking the committee about today.
So move to delegate.
Do I have a second on that?
I second it.
Was that Pamela?
Pamela.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I'll take roll. Aklagi?
Yes.
Bell Sightmaster?
Yes.
Bennett?
Yes.
Connolly?
Yes.
DeBose?
Yes.
Delfino?
Yes.
Friedman?
Yes.
Ann?
Yes.
Meeker?
Yes.
Myers, Myers,
Yes, sorry.
Planhold,
Yes.
and Savage.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. So before we adjourn, I just wanted to thank the staff as always. You guys make this look so easy, and I can only imagine the lift that you guys are doing on your side to make it look so easy. That's the definition of mastery right there. And really, the commission members, those conversations are going to get more and more deepened and robust as we go forward. I just want to really acknowledge you guys for not only thinking about the state bar, the work that we're doing, the programs that we're serving, but really like all the stakeholders. And Selena, and I know Bonnie's here, every time you guys give us your input, it really does help, add color and shape to the work that we're doing. So we really appreciate it. And last but not least, oh, Brady as well. Thank you, Brady. Last but not least, if I was a little bit off today, I just want to let you know that this last week I've been dealing with a family issue. So this morning when I got on the call, it was still really with me. So apologies for any mishaps on my part. So if there isn't anything further that anyone has to say, and we've dealt with everything on the agenda, can I get a motion to adjourn?
I'm sorry to interrupt, Bonifay. If you wanted me to take 5 minutes, I can show the committee Smart Simple for those who either haven't used it
That
recently.
would be really great. That would be really, really great. And we actually have 20 more minutes. So.
Yeah, I don't want to belabor it. I know it's been a long meeting, but as we will be scheduling the eligibility review conferences, it might be helpul.
I'm getting some heads. You guys are, this is a good thing to do.
Okay. So, I will share my screen. Here we go. Okay. Can you all see that?
Mm-hmm.
Great. So I am emulating a session as if Bonifay were looking at Smart Simple. If you haven't logged into Smart Simple, or if you have any trouble logging in, feel free to let staff know, and we'll be happy to help you. But if you are familiar with the logging in process, it'll take you to this homepage, which has the governing authorities. If you ever want a quick reference for any of the governing authorities that the Commission deals with, application instructions for IELTS EAF and all the other grants that are administered by the State Bar. For your purposes, what'll be most relevant right now is if you go up to this top right corner for grant applications, and you click IELTS EAF for application year. It will bring up the 2021 applicants, and you can click into any of these, and it will bring up the whole application just as staff can see it. So we provided you today, for example, with the profile sheets for new applicants, but this will give you the in-depth details of every aspect of the application rather than a summary. So that if you're going to participate in an eligibility review conference, that would probably be the best place to start, is the actual application. And then for the site visits that we mentioned earlier, the monitoring visits, you can also click on that, and you can see which ones have been scheduled, which ones are pending to be scheduled, and the staff contact for those. And we have, over the course of the year, I think about 35 or 36 that need to be completed. And we've, as I mentioned before, only gotten through 5 or 6 so far. So there will be plenty of opportunities if you want to browse the organizations that are up for a monitoring visit this year. Definitely feel free to express your interest, and we can add you as we start putting those on the calendar, because there will be many more than the 8 that we just went over this morning. So, yeah, I would recommend for the purposes of the next couple of weeks, if you want to focus on the grant applications tab, and you can search within that for specific organizations without having to scroll through each individual one. So, Does anybody have questions about just about this page or Smart Simple in general if you haven't used it before? Okay.
Sorry, I have a quick question. If we have if we are going into it and then we have questions, should we reach out to you? For, like, who should be our main kind of contact with any questions?
Sure, you can contact me. And if for some reason I can't answer the question, I'll know who would be the best person to point you to.
Thank you.
Great.
Any other questions? Thank you for that, Erica. Oh, Luis, yes?
So I understand how to work Smart Simple once I get there, but how do I get there? Is it through the bar website?
It's calbar.
Yeah.
.smartsimple.com.
Okay, that's what I was missing. Thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions? Okay. Shall we adjourn?
Hi.
Bob, you're always ripe for the adjourning motions. I'm not sure if you're there.
You might have dropped
I'll
off.
move.
Okay, Luis moves. I'll second it. All right, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
See you next time.
Thank you.
Have a great
Okay.
afternoon. Bye,
You
everyone.
too.
Bye.
Hi, thank you.